Again to Canberra, Barnaby Joyce speaking to the media on this effects test. So let's take a listen.
Economic and social stratification of life by their own endeavours, by their own efforts. And that is one of the greatest liberties that a nation must be able to deliver to people, so that they can say that if I have nothing, maybe if I don't have the education, or if I don't have the wealth, but if I have the drive, if that is in essence of my nature, that I can start from nowhere, and with my own endeavours and my own efforts, take my business forward. And what we like about business is because it takes you to the highest level of freedom. You are master of your own ship. You don't go by a corporate manual, you go by your own manual. You write your own checks from your own checkbook, and in essence you have the greatest determination of your own destiny and where you are going. What the effects test does, it becomes part of that adornment of a statement quite clearly of the overarching principles of those in the National Party, and I bet those in the Liberal Party as well. And so it is that takes you into a political movement and makes you say, well, why would you do this job? What are one of the key things that drive you in this job? Now, I'm not saying that this is some panacea and all problems become fixed, not for 1 second. But what I can say is that after a large battle over a long period of time, and with 46(1)AA as a chapter in that, with the Birdsville Amendment, which the last chapter was sent from the Birdsville Hotel, and we're just talking about things in Western Queensland just then, so there's your hook of how the two things connect, is that we are continuing to fight for a more just process. We've had the purpose in the past, or it's been the case in the past, where people say, look, I just can't get to a... There's no point. You say that you're concerned about people knocking me out just because they want to, not because they've got a better product or a better price, but just because they want to, and it serves their purpose to get rid of the competition. But we want to see a government that does it. This is the government delivering.
Are you surprised that you were able to convince the...
I'm going to go one at a time.
What is wrong with the bigger business in an area having a lower price? Because isn't that actually good for consumers, that they get a lower price?
Well, what you have to make sure that what is better for consumers over the longer term is competition. And we believe in competition. This brings about that agility and that ingenuity to drive new people into the business field, so they do compete. Otherwise, you can have a great position for a short period of time, and then a very much a deleterious effect over the longer period of time, because you have one person offering one price, and if you don't like it, bad luck.
So will this push up prices?
Well, no, it won't. What competition over the long term brings down prices. I mean, that's what we want. We want the environment over the longer term, which protects the right of the person, the individual, to go into business, and by so doing creates the competitive environment that not only gets you better prices, but gives you that agility and ingenuity that you get, because I do not know of any business that's a big business that somewhere in its history wasn't a small business, except government business.
What was your secret in getting the lawyers in Cabinet to agree here? You've got a former partner, a silk, a barrister, who've all previously argued that this was going to be a lawyer's picnic. What did you do to convince them otherwise?
Well, the decision at Cabinet was always one of unity. Everybody agreed that this is the best course, not only for the coalition but for our nation.
The Harper Review was handed down 12 months ago. Mm-hmm. Does the government accept that some small businesses have gone out of business in that time, and what do you say to them?
Well, I can say that we are delivering. We are delivering, and we've had our shoulder to the wheel on this issue. The last substantial change in what was then known as Trade Practices Law was Section 46(1)AA, otherwise known as the Birdsville Amendment. That was also brought about by the coalition. The next statement, the next move towards a fairer environment for small business, the heart and soul of both the National Party and the Liberal Party, has been produced for you today with the acceptance of the effects test.
From the standpoint of the national point, Mr Joyce, does that vindicate the switch from Tony Abbott to Malcolm Turnbull, given Abbott wasn't going to give you this?
Well, I'm not here to try and sort of reanalyse history. I know that the case we put forward to Mr Turnbull would have been exactly the same case we put forward to Mr Abbott.
Will the change be legislated this term?
Queensland Nickel, do you think it warrants an investigation into Mr Palmer's possible phoenixing arrangements, and what sort of investigation do you think might be warranted?
The only investigation I want is whether those people keep their jobs. This is turning to an issue about Mr Palmer. I've always wanted to be an issue about people keeping their jobs. The people, I'm certain, they don't want to hear about the circus. They want to hear about jobs. Everywhere I go in regional Australia, that is it.
But there are
Talk to me
coalition
about
MPs that
jobs.
want federal police and
Well, I'm going to focus on how we make sure that people keep the dignity of a pay packet and can keep the wolves from the door and the groceries on the table.
Do you expect that the
As a
effects...
Nationals leader, are you satisfied with the briefing on the Safe Schools report and review?
Well, look, I've been tied up absolutely flat out in a whole range of things. I know there are concerns that have been brought to us. I want to step away from the concerns that are brought to us by politicians. Let's talk about the concerns that are brought to us by parents. They're the ones I listen to the most. They just want to make sure that their right as a parent in the instruction of their children is not compromised or overlaid by another program. And I think that I'll be listening not so much to politicians but to parents on this one.
Do you expect the effects test changes will be...
Parents the opportunity to speak?
Well, I mean I haven't come to a decision on that yet. I'll wait. I know that Simon Birmingham's doing a review, and I'm expecting to have a meeting with Simon. I have great respect for having worked with him as my PALSEC before. I have great respect for his capacity. He's a very adroit and clever politician, and I'm sure that he can read the tea leaves on this one.
Are you concerned about the way that the review was undertaken?
Which one?
The independence of the review?
On Safe Schools? Look, to be honest, I'm not going to sort of give comment on that issue because that actual meeting, I wasn't in attendance. I'm flat out on. It's unsurprising. I've probably been focusing a little bit on the effects test lately.
Minister, just break it down. You're at home, you own some small business, you're a hairdresser,
Sure.
a retailer. Okay, this effects test has been passed. What does it mean to someone at home?
Well, what it means is if you look at the issue where in the past we had, there is an effects test. We have that in section 45, 47 and 50. What it allows within section 46, I'm sure everybody in TV land has now just turned off the television and gone to make a cup of tea.
Yeah.
But what this means is that the capacity that we don't have to prove. See, with a take advantage test, someone could just say, look, if a small business could do that, then I, as a major retailer, can do it. And you say, well, no, it's different because the effect on all the people who have to deal with that decision are entirely different. A small business cannot really destroy competition in the marketplace over the longer term, but a big business can. And what this allows is that people say, look, I know what you did and it might have been passable as a small business, but you are now to such a size that if you do that, you will drive. If I go to a place and say, well, I'm just going to start selling cases of beer at $15 and say that's a case, I know that if I keep doing that, I'm going to send every bottle shop in the district out. And people say, in the short term, didn't they get a better price? I say, yeah, sure. And when you think they've all gone, do you think they're going to keep the price of a case of beer at $15? Of course not.
Can you legislate to change this term, Minister?
For dollar milk products like that?
Well, this has been a discussion that's been around for quite a while. I obviously believe that the proper price of milk is above $1. They say that they are not selling it below cost. What I say is it's in many instances it's the loss leader that's bringing people into the shops so they pick up the money in buying other products. The way we had to deal with that in the department in agriculture is we started opening up markets into China, and we sell that same litre of milk in China for up to $11.
Can you legislate to change this term of government?
Well, I always want things to happen as quickly as possible, but that is all determined by when the election might be. And no, I'm not going to answer that question.
Mr Joyce, just in regards
This is definitely the last question.
in regards to the backpacker tax that announced today that he's heading up a review of that in conjunction with other portfolios, including yours, so I assume you welcome such a review.
Yeah.
But, it comes after the Treasurer's Office had ruled out any review. Is this a way to get around the Treasurer's Office? Is he being left out of the process?
No. Well, I've worked very closely with Scott Morrison and with Kelly O'Dwyer. Obviously, we're hearing concerns that people have in this, and quite obviously, I don't want to go into the discussions that may already have happened.